You're listening to the Womanpreneur podcast. Empowerment in business and life.
Welcome to the Womanpreneur podcast. My name is Melissa Moats, and this is the lovely and talented...
Ooh, I'm Amanda McEwen.
McEwen?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
I've heard it both ways. So McEwen or McCune. Or I have a friend's son who calls it McCoon. It's, growing up, they always told me it was McEwen.
Wow.
I've sort of adapted a little bit, and I just go with McCune because trying to explain that the N-E isn't E-N, like it's just too much work. I don't really care. You can call me Fred and I'll be fine.
Right. I've known you like almost 2 decades, and I've been always saying Amanda McEwen. That's why I was like, what?
I know. And I sort of over enunciated at that time. McEwen. But
we all know who she is.
I'm Amanda.
We know her. We love her.
And I have some kind of last name.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Melissa Moats, Amanda McEwen. Apparently. Learn something new every day. We are super excited to be with you today because we are going to be talking about positivity and the solution mindset. That's a really powerful title, just that in itself.
And it's so important. I don't know if I can say enough or stress enough how that has been the biggest driving factor in my life. And I don't mean that to sound dramatic, but there's something,
dun, dun, dun.
Part of it is that your sweater is so yellow. I'm a little bit blinded here.
I wore it.
It's very bright.
Thank you.
But
I wore this on purpose today.
It's true. You told me that yellow is a positivity color.
Yes, it is.
So,
and
anyhow,
just wanted to do this.
We also have a yellow smiley sort of 8-ball that's like a positive 8-ball.
This is called the positivity ball.
The positivity ball.
So like if you need a little pick-me-up, you can grab this ball and just say, positivity ball, what do you have for me today? And it'll say things like, you're good enough.
Oh, there you go.
Thank
affirmations.
You. Little positive affirmations. Like yes. But yeah, positivity, this is a positive color.
It is.
It's happy.
It's great. But it is, to me, the most important thing is keeping a positive attitude no matter the circumstance. Yep. It's not always easy, but when it becomes a habit, everything sort of shifts into place. Because really, if to sort of simplify things, no matter what the situation is, you can look at it in a good way or you can look at it in a bad way.
Yeah,
and if
we have a choice.
Focused on the bad, it's that, I'm not going to go super into like The Secret or any of those other things about visualization. Because I know not everybody believes in that. But if you put bad out there, you usually get bad back. But if you put good out there, there's something inside. I've seen it in people when they start shifting the mindset. And I know mindset is also another word that's sort of out there all the time that some people are like, ugh, mindset. But
you know what? There you go. Like on the, some people don't believe in The Secret or the law of attraction, or some people are like, ugh, about mindset. The whole point of, where we're kind of going today and kicking things off are that whole solution mindset is looking for, it's the opposite of that whole that bah humbug approach.
You can either find problems everywhere or you can find solutions.
It's actually easier to look for a solution in something than it is to look for a problem. If you retrain yourself to approach it that way. One of my favorite quotes of all time is John Lennon. He talks about how there are no problems, there are only solutions. And does that come right out of the song Imagine? I feel like that it might.
Trying to go through the lyrics.
Imagine all the
right.
people.
You want to sing it for us?
No. Anyway, but maybe it's not part of the song, but I'll have to look that up. We'll Google that later. Too bad Brent's not here today. He could look that up for us. Fact checker. But the whole point is that it is easy if you do kind of tend to throw problems out all the time, to kind of get caught up in that cycle or that habit of thinking of things as problems. But I think you and I both come from, in all areas of our life, our business, our personal life, we are very solution oriented in the way that we approach things. And I really think that it's a great secret to getting to the things that achieving the things that you want to achieve in your life. I think that's like one of those top 10 secrets of the world, of the universe. So, I don't know. I think we should talk about some examples and stuff, or anything come to mind for you as far as being more of a solution seeker than a problem person?
Problem person. Yeah, I think
she's such a problem person.
I'm not a problem
She's
person.
Not at all.
But, one of the things, I am very cautious of who I keep in my life. And I don't mean that like people are expendable, because it's not that, but we hear a lot, especially lately, about toxic relationships, toxic personalities, all of that. And there are a lot of people in the world who love to complain.
Yeah.
And I get it. Things are bad sometimes. We all go through things, big or small. I mean, it just doesn't matter. But there are those people out there that just constantly complain. And to put it bluntly, I don't have any tolerance for that, because it's fine when bad things happen. You're allowed to react. You're allowed to feel however you feel. It's not my place to change that. But if you just keep complaining and don't do anything to change the thing that you're complaining about, that's really on you at that point. The bad thing happened to you, sure. But it's how you react to it. It's how you move on from it.
Yeah. And it's like you can empathize with someone, especially a friend or someone in your life who's going through a tough time or have something going on, and they're venting, right?
Which is very important.
Yeah,
actually.
It is, to get it out, right? Not to hold it in. But I think there's a difference between venting and getting it out there, and then looking for the solutions in it and trying to kind of resolve the issue. And then the other side of the coin is just venting and complaining and continuing in that cycle, and just, it's not healthy, and it's not helping you, and it's not helping anyone. And I think that's kind of where you're coming from, is like, if somebody wants to talk to you about a problem, quote unquote, it's really about, let's see what we can do to figure out the solution. Let's see how we can make this better. Or sometimes it's just acknowledging it and then blessing it and releasing it. That's kind of my motto on things, is if there isn't a solution, something happened, it's bad, it made you feel bad, it's done, it's over with. It's just kind of like acknowledging it happened. That's the goldfish died, that sucks. And, carry on, friends, life goes on, I mean, that's kind of a silly example, but
it's not. And it's not an easy thing, but I also have a 1-day rule where I'm allowed to have a negative feeling for a day. That means sadness. That could mean anger, which, it's kind of funny. I think I get mad once every like 7 years. I can't even remember the last time I was actually mad. Yep. But part of that is because I don't allow it. And I know that it's kind of sounds weird sometimes. Like, what do you mean you don't allow it? And again, I've already mentioned I'm not the most emotional human being in the world. Sure. But part of that is, okay, this thing happened. This is how I feel about it. This is bad. Can I do something to change it? The answer is yes. Okay. So tomorrow I'm moving on. Here, I'm going to start doing what I can to change it. If I can't change it, I have to let it go. And that is the harder part, I think, in a lot of ways. But then again, change is hard too. So maybe that's not even accurate. But it's really, I don't understand worrying about things I can't change, worrying what's going to happen. And that it's hard not to. We all think about what might happen. But for me, it's like, I know that whatever happens, I'm going to deal with it.
Yep.
And I know I come across a little tough love in this category, and it's because I think people need to hear it. And the love part is very important, because I am here for anybody who has a problem or they're feeling a bad kind of way. That's fine. I'm here. I'm a listener. I'm here to talk about it too. But it's when the same person is complaining about the same thing for weeks and weeks at a time and not doing anything to change the situation. Yeah. And every time, if you offer a solution or a different option and you're met with resistance, and there are people who don't want to get better because they like to complain.
So those are sometimes the kind of people that we have to bless and release from our lives.
It's tough. I mean,
I've tough.
Had to sort of cut friends out because it's just, I'm giving and I'm not receiving, and I don't really care about the receiving part. But when you have somebody in your life and you're done talking with them and you just feel drained,
depleted,
over and over, and when you see that there is something that can be done, or the thing that's being complained about is so trivial. Right. And, but it's just that they want the fight, or they want the drama, or they want
some people just really do like drama. And I also have had to, just move away from certain relationships in my life over the years. And it's not easy to do. And it doesn't necessarily make you feel good in that moment. But
and it's also not saying that they're bad people. And
no, not at all. No, they can be awesome people, but it's just one of those things where relationships are about sharing of energy and their give and take. And if you're with someone in a relationship, whatever the relationship, it could be a business relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship. But if it's always, all give and no, it's not reciprocal. That's something to really look at and to think about. But I think for me, it's blessing and releasing. Again, it's wishing that person the best and saying, hey, this just isn't working for me, because I really respect relationships where there's a sharing going on. And I want to feel like, I'll put it this way, coming from a positive mindset and a solution-oriented mindset, I think that also goes hand in hand with always wanting to grow and always wanting to evolve and always wanting to become a better version of myself. Tomorrow, I hope I'm a better version of myself than I am today, and so on and so on and so on. And so the kind of people that I like to spend my time with, I hope are going to be on a similar journey, so it's that. But that whole positive mindset, I do really think that it comes down to making a choice. And I don't like the way I feel when I'm talking negatively, or if I've, someone's gossiping about somebody and I just interject something and then I'm like, who am I? I don't want to talk about that person. I love that person. It's like, gossipy behavior, or just being anything that's just kind of negative, and it makes me feel icky. And I don't like to feel icky ever. No, but I mean, and so like you said, you don't allow it. You don't allow the negative thinking. And I don't either. I literally am just like, no, I'm not interested. I just won't participate. Right. And it's just like little mental notes, But so those are some things for me. Being solution oriented is having the awareness of changing my language too, not using the word problem. So it's catching yourself saying, well, the problem is, replacing that with, well, how can we look at this differently? Or okay, this is definitely a tough situation, or this isn't coming together the way, we'd hoped. What can we do? How can we look at this differently? Or one of my favorite lines I heard recently is, I'm a huge Jen Sincero fan, and she wrote, "You are a badass." And she just came out with "You are a badass" every day. It's like a little spot checkery of your badassery and your positivity. But she talks about how something you can do is something that's a negative thing that you catch yourself saying often, like, I can't do that because, or I'll never be able to do that because, and actually turning it inside out and turning it into a positive affirmation. And I was driving in my car listening to this audiobook, and I was like, what? I was like, that is brilliant. And for me, one of my negative little things that I say to myself often that I don't want to say, and it's just habitual, is, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. How am I ever going to get all this done? I don't have enough time. I'm so busy. And we talked about busy being that badge of honor a few episodes ago. I turned that into, there's more than enough time. I have all the time in the world. Enjoy the moment, be present. And this is my solution is now, I tell myself the solution is just be really joyful in every moment of everything that you're doing. And the stuff that I'm complaining about or, creating this weird problem in my mind, it doesn't really exist. It exists if I say it does. It exists if I let it exist. But really, if I say the solution here is there's plenty of time. There's all kinds of time. It's just reaffirming what I need to have as my new little mantra, if you would. So,
and that's what all of it really comes down to. It's changing a little bit at a time. It's being aware. That awareness is key because we have a lot of subconscious thoughts all the time. We're not actively always thinking can't or don't or won't or all those negative words. They're just in there. So it's sort of like you said, catching it when it happens. And if you hear yourself saying or thinking, I can't, I don't, I'll never, any of these negative things, that's when you have to sort of catch it and turn it around and be like, okay, what can I do? What will I do? Like, what are these things? Let's find the solution. What is the thing that you want? What is the reason why you think right now you can't do it? And let's turn that around. Let's figure out.
Turn it inside out
And say,
hey,
well, what can I do? Or this is a thing that I can do, or start just believing that good things are possible. And I tell people from time to time, I'm like, I'll sort of refer to myself as the annoying optimist because I can find the good in any situation. Yep. And I know some people don't want that. Some people, again, they want to live in the darkness, and it can be really annoying but that's the only way I know how to be. Yeah. And I do that. I've done it so actively that it's just in my nature. I don't think about it anymore.
You automatically flex that muscle because you've trained your brain. You've trained yourself to always kind of look on the bright side. It's like that glass half full, or really the glass is always full.
Well,
if you know, it's full of air and water. I'm just saying, I'm doing a visual here, but I know there are people listening and not.
You really want me to get what you're talking about.
I just am really into it right now. I'm feeling good.
But I remember when I lived in LA in my early 20s, and everybody knows what traffic is like in LA. Yeah. I had a 4-mile commute that was 45 minutes on a good day. And even back then, I think it was 21, 22, somewhere around there. But I remember sitting in that traffic, bumper to bumper, not moving. And that was my work commute. And I'm like, I could be upset about this every day and sit there angry and grumbling. But instead, I found a radio show that I really liked because, again, back in the early 2000s, we still listened to radio, but there was a talk show that I really liked to listen to. I used that time to listen to my music. I used that time, to use my little car phone to call my friends back home. Yeah. Like that 45 minutes to an hour of sitting in traffic became something that I looked forward to.
I was going to say something that you used to dread. Mm-hmm. You found a solution in how to make it something you actually looked forward to. Right. That's a good one.
And then
that's a really good one.
After I moved back to Vegas, traffic never bothers me now because you can get anywhere in this city in half an hour, even in rush hour, pretty much. So
it's true.
Ever since then, it's that perspective. It's like, this isn't that bad.
It is perspective.
I've seen worse.
I'll tell you one of my little things that I do. So admin work, like
your favorite?
Not my favorite. But sometimes I have to do things like, sit down and pay bills or do some invoicing and or just stuff like sit at my desk stuff where I'm not in my booth telling stories and being happy. And I'm like, So what I do is I go, how can I make this better? Well, the 2 ways I make it better is I also have my favorite station I like to listen to. Mm-hmm. I actually have a Pandora station I like to tune into.
Is it Christmas songs?
It's not Christmas songs, unless it's during the holiday season. But I have this kind of like really cool reggae station that I've been exploring. And it kind of gets me into this like, I can do this admin business right now feeling. And I make myself a lovely cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. And I go, now I can sit here and listen to some reggae and I can sip on my coffee. And my solution is I'm going to get all this stuff done and now I'm going to enjoy it. So it's my little solution-oriented mindset to approaching something that I go about initially.
And we can do that in everything. And it's sometimes it is that simple. I mean, it's, if there's something that you just don't want to do and it's no fun, and you get that feeling, what can we do to turn it around and say, this is a thing that I can do to make this time enjoyable. And maybe it is, it's another traffic one, but there's those times when you want to get home and then the light turns red and you're like, ugh, I just want to get home. I'm hungry. It's almost dinner time, whatever it is. But for me, sometimes when that red light comes, I'm like, that means I get to listen to one more song, because the time that I listen most actively to music, which I love, is in the car. It's when I can turn it up loud and I can just, listen to it, and it's not just in the background while I'm doing other things. Yeah. I miss that time from sort of for me, it was in the 90s where I would just buy a CD and I would sit down and listen to the CD in its entirety over and over and over sometimes.
And like open up the J card and read the lyrics. You didn't even Google those. You just looked at them. Mm-hmm. I remember when I did that with my cassette tapes also.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, but that's really what it is. It's just that I'm sorry, I'm like looking out this direction because our studio neighbors keep like peering in the door.
They're waving at us.
They are paparazzi right now. So apologize for that.
They're the adrenaline boys next door. They're good. They're good fellas. They're probably just kind of saying hi and spreading the love before they leave for the weekend. Yeah. But we locked the door so that we could get this, get our thoughts organized. Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to share that's on a little bit more of a heavier note regarding solution, oriented thinking and being positive, that is bigger than, I would say, that moment of traffic or whatever. Bigger meaning more serious and impactful on life. It's like something like, I remember when I found out that I was being diagnosed with cancer. Yeah. That was a pretty big one for me and my little, moment there. But, I remember a doctor saying to me, my oncologist saying to me, the test came back positive. And that's a positive you don't want to hear about.
That's the bad positive.
Right. That's not the positive that I wanted. But in that moment, I remember it's like this whoosh. It was like a cold rush of literally my whole body. I felt this cold rush go over me, and my adrenaline kicked in and my heart rate picked up, and it was scary news to hear, the big C word. And there are a lot of people in this world who unfortunately have had that news delivered to them. And it's heavy in that moment, and it's scary, and it can be really emotional, and you can cry, you can feel angry. There's so many different things you can feel. But I remember for me thinking almost immediately, I kind of feel like I remember all of this playing out in slow motion in my mind. I thought, okay, so I have two choices right now. I could really feel sorry for myself, or I could be really sad about this, or immediately I can start thinking about all the things I can do to improve my health, to be stronger, to get myself through this, support myself, support my family, all of the different things I can do that can be better and more positive, because I know that I want to focus on the outcome. And I want the outcome to be good. And the other thing that I was thinking in that moment was, this might sound kind of corny, but I was thinking, Melissa, you need to have a happy mindset, because if you have a happy mindset, all of the cells in your body are going to be impacted by a happy, healthy body chemistry. And that's going to help you get through this. And that's going to help cure this, and this is going to help heal your body. And so I was like, happy cells, healing cells, you got this, you got this. And so that was kind of my first little conversation in my head, which probably happened in the first few minutes of hearing the news. But then there's always that voice when something crazy, scary like that happens, that's like, but it's cancer and it's serious, and oh my gosh, and you could die, and all this stuff. And I was like, shh, quiet, silence, but I trained myself to really think, no, I'm not going down this road. And And I use a tool I apply a tool I used or learned rather, trying to get my thoughts straight. A long time ago, I was watching a PBS special, and there was this doctor being interviewed about the roadmap in our brain and all of the grooves and channels in our brain. And he was talking about how every time you think a negative thought, oftentimes the negative thoughts are the repeated thoughts. So the more you're thinking negatively, you're thinking the same negative thought over and over and over again. And your brain is actually basically carving out that same channel over and over again. And it's actually getting deeper. And he said you can actually retrain your brain and create positive pathways in your brain by every time you catch yourself thinking a negative thought, you can retrain your brain to think a positive thought, to start building those new channels so that your brain goes that way. He called them ANTs, automatic negative thoughts or automatic negative thinking. And I was like, crazy. So in that moment in the doctor's office, I'm like, whatever. No ANTs around these parts. I am super going to think positively. But I realized in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, this is some of the heaviest news I've ever gotten. I'm scared, but I'm not going to let myself go down that road of thinking those negative thoughts. I'm going to immediately replace those negative thoughts with the positive thoughts. So I know it's kind of long-winded, but it's like that definitely helped me a lot. So maybe that'll help somebody listening.
And it's important, I think, also to give validity to the scariness, again, the negative thoughts, it's not that they don't count or they don't mean anything. If anything, that's an indicator that you need to change something.
Right.
And, that in overcoming something as big as cancer, but it's huge because we know, I don't know the science behind it, but there's all that research and the studies that stress is one of the worst things for your body. And you can't tell somebody stop stressing out. That usually stresses them out more.
Yeah, it does.
It's just something that over time you kind of
It's like I'm stressed, and now knowing that I'm stressed is making my body more stressed.
And I wish it was something that you could teach, but it's very internal in a lot of ways, but if you try, and it's that ability to flip things and
flip the script.
Actively do it, even though it's very difficult, but because those thoughts are still going to come in. It doesn't matter how positive you are, they're going to come in, and that's okay.
Yep.
It's just how you react to them.
And at first you're going to feel like you're telling yourself this ridiculous lie, because if you are that ANT person or that automatic negative thinker, or you tend to look at the glass, half empty, or you're more pessimistic in the way that you kind of interpret information. Sometimes it's just a habitual thing, right? So it's creating a new habit for yourself, and it's like, or it's just the way you were raised. Maybe your parents were super pessimistic, and that's just the way your household was growing up. So it's kind of like it's what you know, and that's a bummer. But it's like, but you can actually fix it. You can change it if you want to. But in the beginning, when you start to flex this new muscle, it's like you feel like it's a lie, kind of like me, like I'm not athletic and I go to the gym and I'm like gonna lift some weights and I'm like, why am I here? This is not me. What am I doing? But I'm like, yes, I'm strong. I'm healthy. I am going to build muscle tone. I am going to do it. I'm going to have a beach body. And then I'm like, Melissa, get out of here. What are you doing? Go, you're going to go home and eat cake. Actually, I'm not. I'm doing really well with my diet.
I'll take your cake then.
But, right? But no, you can
I'll
have
take
some
donations.
cake. No, but what I'm saying is it's like in the moment of trying out something new, like trying to think positively, you can feel like a fraud for a second, and you're like, whatever, this is not me. But it can be you. It just takes practice, and you have to keep doing it.
And that's where, for me, like the tough love portion sort of comes into play, because a lot of times all I'm hearing are excuses. And again, it's not to belittle or be condescending, but if I'm talking to somebody in his 50s who is blaming how he is on his childhood, like we've all been through some stuff. Yeah. That's fine. But you can't, if you're going to carry that with you your whole life and say, I am this way because of this one thing that happened to me, I'm powerless, I can't do anything about it, I don't believe you. And I don't, again, I'm really not trying to be harsh about it, but I see all the time that people are hanging on to that thing. And I think it comes mostly from fear that, you know, I can hold on to this thing. This is my crutch. This is my excuse. This is my reason why I can't do anything I want to do, because it's almost safer to live in that dark place.
It's scarier sometimes to actually succeed.
But like I have seen people turn it around, people, you know, that have dealt with depression for decades, and then they finally took charge and said, I'm going to identify why I react, when I react, how I react, and I'm going to change it. And I've seen people turn it around, you know, after having it just be part of them for so long. And it's not easy, but I've seen it, and I know it's possible. And that's, you know, why I just try to encourage everybody, let's find the solutions. It's a much happier place. It's a much better place. There's some people who are sort of hardwired to worry. Yeah. That's one of the things that I don't understand, just personally. I mean, I understand it in a sort of logical way, but I don't connect with it because my brain doesn't work that way. Yeah. But there are people that just constantly worry. Yeah. And the way I look at it is, if that thing happens, I'm going to deal with it when it happens. Yeah. Because a lot of times people spend days, weeks, months, whatever, worried about this thing that may or may not happen. Yeah. And then it doesn't happen. And all of that time, all that energy,
you just robbed
wasted.
yourself. You just robbed yourself of the moments that you could be having, not worrying and thinking about something else. So
I don't like it.
Yeah. It's
just trusting
it's
that
icky.
If the bad thing happens, deal with it then. And not to say like to live in a blind spot and think that nothing bad can ever happen. Yeah. But, you know, for anybody who is listening or watching, we've all gotten through every single thing that life has thrown at us so far, or we wouldn't be here to listen
what do they say?
watch.
What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And it is really true. And I always think there's a lesson in everything, and especially the stuff that we label as bad. My husband Troy always says to me, he says, nothing's bad. Everything is good, because you can learn something from every situation, and something that you may slap a label on as a negative or a bad thing. You can find the silver lining. You can find the learning lesson. Growth happens oftentimes when you're going through something that's hard or uncomfortable, or just, you know, makes you kind of dig a little deeper in yourself, or seek out, you know, more knowledge or more guidance. But I think just everything in your life, whether it's personal relationships or business relationships, coming at everything looking for a solution, as opposed to just throwing out the word problem or coming at it with a problem mindset, you're going to get a great result if you are solution minded, and you're going to be happier, and things are going to just flow better. And I think that it's kind of like you said, people are always like, oh, you're so positive. People tell me all the time, they're like, some people are like, it makes me sick. You're so happy. And I'm like, I am not like 24/7, like, yeah, I'm so happy. I am genuinely a happy person. I'm grateful. I think I have a lot of gratitude in my life. And I think that if you practice gratitude and you're very mindful about the things you're grateful for, it's really hard to be negative, and it's really hard to be problem minded. Right. Because if you have a lot of gratitude, you tend to just look at something in the simplest way and see that nugget of good that's sitting right there more easily. So,
and that's, you know, I'm of the belief that everything happens for a reason. And I know that's cliche, and some people don't dig that.
And some people don't believe it, but yeah.
It's sort of like I have a deal with the universe that I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to treat people well. The whole sort of concept of karma or do unto others.
Totally
all
believe
of that.
it.
But I believe in that, because I think if I'm being my best self as much as possible and doing good for others, that's going to come back to me. But it's also recognizing that sometimes that means the thing that you think that you really want, if it doesn't happen, it's for a reason. And so that is a big part in it's almost acceptance, I guess, because there are times like I really want that thing, or there's something that I want and it doesn't happen. And then I don't hold on to that. I don't obsess over it, because I just feel like if it didn't happen, it's because something even better is coming. Yeah. And I don't know what it is yet. And that's okay.
So true.
And so I just appreciate every moment. And if something doesn't happen, great. They say, like one door closes and another opens.
Yeah.
I've lived that. That's what happens.
I had a friend, Andrea, wrote me an email the other day. We were talking about a voiceover job or whatever. And she just said this beautiful line. She said, I believe that the things that are meant for us will never pass us, and I thought that was just a really nice way of putting it. And I mean, it could be, a house you're trying to buy and the deal falls through, or trying to buy a car and somebody else buys that car and you're just like, oh man, it didn't work out, or the job you wanted, or stuff like that. You can feel so disappointed. But if you look back at your life and you think about those kinds of situations that happened, it really is true. Like, you do end up finding that house that's even a better fit, or place to live, or that vehicle that, you wanted to get. You find something that's even got lower miles and a better deal and, and is so much more you, and a cute little horn sound. And no, I'm just kidding. But whatever it is, but I mean, these are materialistic things that I'm using as examples. But, I do really think that my positive mindset was very helpful for me during my cancer journey. And I have a lot of people in my life whose lives have been touched by cancer, and some of them very, very, very close friends of mine, and some of them have passed, and they were very positive people and had very positive mindsets. And I'm not saying that a positive mindset can necessarily single-handedly cure an illness or a disease, but I'll put it to you like this. If my outcome of my health hadn't turned out where I am now, cancer-free and healthy, during that time, if you were to reflect back on it and you had that choice to be thinking positively during that time, or to be thinking negatively during that time and worrying, and you could go back and redo it, which way would you have wanted to experience those moments?
Right. That's powerful.
So two of my very best girlfriends actually have both passed away from cancer. And we were all diagnosed with female-related cancers within just a couple of years of each other. And it was very hard to go through that, each one of us on our own personal journeys. But gets me even really emotional now thinking about it. I didn't plan to even go down this path, but those two girlfriends of mine are no longer here. And sometimes I think, why am I here and they're not? And, they were just as positive as me. They had great treatment. They had loving, supportive families around them. They had every reason in the world to live, and they were good girls. And, but we don't know why, there are things that happen and you don't know why everyone has their journey and their time and stuff. But one thing that I have a positive feeling about when I do reflect and I think back to my two very close girlfriends, I think that we were all there together, cheering for each other, and they were very positive, and they were enjoying their moments while they were here and had those moments, even though they were going through some of the toughest times, chemo, losing their hair, losing their taste, uncomfortable, scared. They were still very positive as they can be, and that's powerful. So I didn't expect to go that deep, but I have to say it, and I wanted to share it.
Well, then it's a good example too, in that when I say that you can find something good in everything, whether it's, even if it's just a lesson learned, you don't look at those friends like, okay, well, they passed away. That's sad no matter how you look at it. That's not a positive thing. But you don't focus on the sadness. You don't focus about the loss. You focus on what you had, on the time that you had with them, which I think is kind of the point. It's maybe, and that time was robbed short, and that's not, it's never fair.
Absolutely.
But you can't just hold that inside and just dwell on, it's just not fair. It's, all of those things.
Yep.
Because you have to you're still here and you have to do the best. It's almost like in their honor.
It is in their honor.
You made it, and not to make light of anything, but you're still here. The best thing you can do is
honor them. And I always kind of think like the things that I do and the way that I live my life and the choices that I make, the love I share, the light that I share, and the good that I try to put out. That I do put out every day. I really do feel like that's kind of my personal way of saying like, I love you. Sorry, Jeanette. I love you, Angie. And they're with me, you know, and I'm doing good things for them too. So I can remember even the day that my friend Jeanette passed away. I was with her that morning, hanging out in her bedroom, and we were talking. And she was laughing and in the best mood, and she wanted to have a smoothie. And I was like, what kind of smoothie do you want, girl? And she was like, I want something with cocoa and cherry. And she was describing all these flavors to me, and she lit up and she was all happy. And she's like, oh, I love a good smoothie. And I was just like, yeah, a good smoothie, that sounds really good. And the way she was describing everything she wanted in this smoothie. And I mean, that is a girl who literally did not know if she had another day with us, but she was in the moment, being happy and being positive and loving her, you know, her smoothies. And I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to make one for me too. I like the idea of the ingredients that you were just recommending. Yeah. So anyway, you know, no matter how small of a problem, you know, that you're experiencing in your life, or how crazy heavy and serious the problem is, there are positive moments to be had. There are solutions, and there are those bright moments in there. If you just take a second and look, just look, try to look at it through a different set of eyes. And, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And, you know, positivity is one thing. And we're also talking about being solution oriented and what that means. And that can kind of comes down to anything that you think is a problem. And for a lot of the people that I interact with because of my business, I'm finding that the biggest problems, I put that in quotes also.
Air quotes for our listeners.
Are, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. Those two things are just out there with almost everybody. I want to do this, but I can't afford it. I want to do that, but there's just not enough time. And so it's shifting two parts. There's the positivity in there because you're saying I can't and I don't and I negative. So it's shifting that and thinking I can do this and I do have this and all of those things, but it's also finding the solution. And that really comes to being honest with yourself and saying, okay, is this a real reason? Is this absolutely true? Is there nothing I can do to change it? Or is it an excuse? Are you holding yourself back? And when it comes to time, and I know it's tough and you got a family and you've got a job and you have all of those things, but there's always time. And I've talked to some people that do, you know, drastically to the point where they might wake up at 4:00 in the morning every day because they have 1 hour from 4 to 5 a.m. before everything else starts. And it's that important to them to do what they want to do. In this case, it's somebody who needs to write more. It's part of her job. And, you know, that's a thing that she does. There's all of those things to where if you really sort of take stock in where is your time going? How much TV are you watching? How much time are you spending on social media? All of those things, would you be able to cut half an hour, 15 minutes a day, whatever small step where think, okay, I want to check my Instagram and see what's out there? Or could you say, I have 15 minutes, I am going to do X. And that depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish. But if you can twist that time around and say, I have 15 minutes every day that I can work towards my goal. And then hopefully that expands and you think, okay, well, I have 30 minutes a day. I have an hour a day. And then if it comes to money, because money is always a big factor, none of us ever really have enough of it, but we do. And there are things, and that's where that word that everybody hates, budgeting, comes into play because are you going to Starbucks every day? Are you going out to drink at night? Are you eating out, throughout the week? What money are you spending that you don't have to?
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways, and it's not fun. Sometimes you have to cut back.
And what are some of the ways that you can earn more? So it's like not only cutting back, but it's also opening up and welcoming how can I make some more money to, fund this thing? Like we just talked about passion projects in our last episode. Yeah. You could have easily been like, oh, that sounds expensive to do this documentary. I don't have that kind of money. Wah, wah. I'm not going to do it. But being solution minded, you were like, you know what? We're going to do a Kickstarter. We're going to get people excited about this. Let's see if that's a solution, if that's an avenue to take. And you created that. So sometimes it's looking and saying, where can I cut back a little bit? Or maybe you got a lot of extra garbage laying around, stuff you don't need, stuff you don't use, things you can sell, to, make some extra cash to start your, whatever it is you're trying to do. But what are some extra ways you can earn money? Like, what are some of your strengths? What are some of your, could you get some extra overtime hours? Do you have a side hustle that you could make a little extra money, in things like that? These are all like solution mindsets, looking at all of those things.
Yeah, it's planning and organization. And I know I've mentioned it a few times, but for me, food prep is a big thing.
Yep.
Because it's investing a certain amount of time on Sundays to make sure I'm set up for success the rest of the week. Yep. And that I see how much people spend on food. I mean, I do books for a lot of companies and a lot of people, and it's a big expense. And that's one of those things where restaurants are expensive. And it's not so that you should cut out everything that you love to do, but if you're going out to eat 5 nights a week or 7 nights a week or multiple meals, like that amount, a lot of times you could buy groceries for the entire week for the amount of 1 or 2 meals.
It's true. It's crazy.
It's, but it's part of that comes with, you're busy during the day and then you're done at the end of the night. You don't feel like making anything. And that's why if you have the time on the weekend to just sort of plan and say, this is what I'm going to eat, and have it ready for you, then you're not tempted by, let's just go out.
Yep.
And if you don't go out, you have more time. And that maybe you could put towards your thing. But I had people when we was working on that passion project and making the film, and we had expanded the vision to make it better. And people said, well, why would you put your own money into that? Like, why would you do that? And it was that belief that I can right now, I'm able to, I need to make sure this is the best thing. I'm not doing this for the money. If it comes back to me, great, that would be amazing. But that wasn't the goal. Like, I loved every minute of what I did. I'm very proud of what we accomplished with that.
You created something. You built something.
It's, it gets easy to say, like I was misled by this person, or, I had a weird thing through my career and there's a lot of stuff that happened. But everything that happened, good or bad, through my entire career, it got me to where I was. And that's why I don't have regrets. And I always look at the good. Like, maybe it could have been different, but it wasn't. So I can't dwell on what could have been. All I can say is, this is what I learned during that time. Mm-hmm. This led me to this opportunity. I never could have, taken 3 months to travel the world and follow my favorite band around and make a film about it had I not been through all those other things. So I have nothing but gratitude for everything that I've ever done, because it's led me to what I'm doing now. And I like my life. It's a good one. So
I know, counting your blessings, or just having that awareness of, gratitude.
Yeah. And understanding that it's a choice. You choose to be happy, or you choose to be miserable, and it's just more fun to choose the positive.
I think it's a lot more fun to be happy, and I don't dig misery at all. No. It's just not and it's not a color that looks good on either of us.
They say misery loves company, but that's not the kind of company I like to keep.
I don't like that kind of company either. I like to be laughing and having a really good time. And it always feels good to lift other people up, and it feels really good too when they reciprocate and they're like, it's like, the way I look at it, like Troy and I always say in our marriage, it's like, I always say to him, honey, I feel like you're putting me up on this pedestal and you make me feel so special and so loved. And it's like in turn, I want to turn around and I want to lift him up on an even higher pedestal, because it's like, I just know how good that I feel with all of that encouragement and love. And it's like, we try to outlove each other. We try to uplift each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, but even that can be said for our friendships or, you know, within brothers and sisters or dear friends or your cousins or anybody in your life, people you work with. It's like, if somebody lifts you up and they're encouraging you and they're like, hey, I'm super proud of you. You're doing so awesome, whatever. It's like, turn around and reciprocate that. It's like, man, it's like, get on that wave of high vibing with somebody, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And it's like, again, it's all going back to the positive mindset, the solution oriented mindset. It just feels good. I don't know. Do you have anything against feeling good? I don't
know anybody who does.
Right?
I know, and not
I'm an
actively.
expert at feeling good. I'm like, I have like a PhD in feel goodedness.
Feel goodness. I like it. Hashtag feel goodness.
Hashtag feel goodedness.
Feel goodness.
Yeah, it kind of rolls off the tongue. Say it. Feel goodedness.
Yeah.
Goodedness.
Good.
Woo. You know what? I want to know what the positive ball has to say. Positivity ball. Look how cute this face is.
I know. Can't see it if you're listening.
I know, but if you're listening, it's a yellow, happy face. It's just cute. Get one. Go get one online. Positivity ball says, and I quote, "You can do it."
Oh, see? So that's what it is.
There you have it.
Find some clarity, figure out what it is that you want, and then start figuring out how you can do it, because you can. Believe it. If it means writing it down and taking one step at a time, because that's how we solve everything, is one step at a time. Just do a little every day. It becomes your habit. Habits are just so much easier.
Yep. Don't shout no. Shout yes.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning into the Womanpreneur podcast. Until next time, you've got this.